Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Sneha Shenoy, Events Producer for the Canadian Franchise Association. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's webinar is titled Diversity and Inclusion in Franchising. COVID-19 caused a wave of disruption to business and life in Canada. During this interactive discussion, we will gain practical insights on how to prepare your business to respond to disruption now and in the future. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. All attendees are on mute. Please feel free to type in your questions at any time during this presentation. Today's webinar is being recorded so that it can be accessed later on. Please also note that this webinar and the information provided is not legal advice. Each franchisor and franchisee should consult their legal and business advisors to determine how this information works within the context of your franchise system and your franchise agreement. So let's begin by introducing our moderator for this discussion, Jennifer Dolman from Osler, Hoskin and Harcourt. Jennifer, over to you.
Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. It's my privilege to be able to act as moderator for this most interesting panel. And I'm a litigation partner at Osler, Hoskin and Harcourt in Toronto. The primary focus of my practice is on franchising, specifically for franchisors. And I'm going to let my panelists introduce themselves. Starting with you, Joel Friedman.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. My name is Joel Friedman. I am president of JSF Franchising Group. Today's talk, when I speak, I'm going to speak on mostly on the operational side of what we're speaking about, and also franchising. My company helps franchisees grow. I've been with the board of directors for CFA for about 9 years. And right now, today, I'm representing Inspiration Learning Center and Private School, which has been around since 2003. So looking forward to hopefully answering some of your questions.
That's great, Joel. Joel, we're talking a lot, of course, about diversity, the subject of this topic. How does a company implement a diversity program in the workplace?
So I'm very lucky. I've just gone through that in the few years with Inspiration Learning Center. I mean, last year she won the award with the CFA, Angel Kwan, and she was facing the same thing a while ago when she came in and started her company. You know, she was used to one ethnic group, and that's how she grew. And she knew eventually that she has to expand her horizon and really hit other parts of GTA and Ontario, and it's a very diverse community, as we all know. But diversity is very hard to implement. And diversity, you can't set up a program and say, okay, it's there. And then it eventually will go away because it's a continuous thing and it's always ongoing. But again, I made some notes, and because I just went through this years ago with her, and again, some of the results that we're seeing our growth, and I'll get to it in the last 4 months, you know, 4 new deals, is because of some of the stuff that we've implemented, because of some success in franchise results. But again, it has to start with the entire top management team. I mean, I think that's the first thing, and they have to have unconscious bias. I mean, be aware of that. You know, Jim Collins, which is an author, always said it really well. 1% vision, 99% alignment. And, you know, all the departments have to have an alignment. So when we introduced this at Inspiration, we got our top management team involved. We were excited about it. We knew we had to grow to the next level. But once we've educated ourselves, we then had to educate our employees and understand that they needed some training and understanding. And we had to understand, the top management had to understand that each individual had different goals in the company, and you know, they need to develop individuals and understand that we need to tailor their growth within that company to whatever they want. If someone, we've had people that wanted to move up. So again, and we had people that just wanted to do what they wanted. We had to understand, and so we had to respect those people's different career goals. We also had to, besides, once we developed the plan, we had to communicate that to the whole environment. So that's not just the management team and the administration staff, but it was to our franchisees and also to all of our tutors out there. So we had a town meeting to say, these are our programs, these are our measurements, and this is how we're going to continue to evolve. Some of the things we did when we did before is we had some blind surveys with our employees and with our tutors and with our even with our clients to understand, with the parents, because we're a tutoring company, to understand. And then we had to keep them engaged, our employees, and keep them involved, and keep them and not just our employees, but also our franchisees. So besides that, we also had to have different workshops for our tutors so that they understand, because they're dealing with a lot of diversity and people from different areas. And I guess once that's all done, is we also had to promote flexibility, understand that everybody's individual, different times they want to work, different places they want to work. And what we grew, it's interesting, another saying is, we really had two cultures, but one company within our company. And so we had to change that to have one culture, one company. So that's why we were so happy with when we introduced this. And then we had to go, and Linda would appreciate it, is that we had to change all of our HR initiatives to include diversity in all of our marketing materials and our websites and everything. So when we had our internally settled, then we had to relieve that message to external. And it took a while. So we keep I'll leave you with this. We keep this one thing that Jim Collins says: 1% vision, but really 99% alignment, and that'll make the 100%. At Inspiration, we started our committee. I guess our committee is myself and Angel, but we are looking, and we had to take step one. I would say it's a 5-step process, and the 5th step is ongoing, never end. But really, 1 and 2 we're through. Number 3 was the committee, but we're really taking it from a different side. It's we want to include every department, someone from every department. We want to include a supplier that we really admire and we work well with, and then we're going to do one of our clients also is include that in that committee ongoing. And then, part of it, and also have a franchisee on that committee. So that is, I guess, for us, step 3 of ours, of the 5-step method that we implemented. So we're about to implement that.
Okay, that's great. So we've talked about what the terms are, and we've talked about the importance of these values. I'd like to shift more specifically, even though we have referenced this to some extent, is recruitment of franchisees. Because of course, if you're in the franchise business, quite apart from what's going on at your head office, which is of course important, because that sets the tone, that's the culture, franchisee recruitment. Joel, do your franchisee recruitment, I know you've answered this, support a diverse culture? You've said yes, but can you speak maybe more specifically to the recruitment part of the business?
Yeah, I mean, again, with Inspiration and everything, where we came from and where we're now, we have a good group of our franchisees that we now have done modeling of successful franchisees, and we've taken a mixture of new ethnic group, time that they're in, and then we model who is a successful franchisees, because each person is different. So we use that, and then when a person comes in, we benchmark it against that successful franchisee, and each of them, again, each of the franchisees that we took are all unique in everything that we've are talking about today. And we also included, besides that, we included in our training process, and make sure that when I'm out there selling it, I talk about diversity, and I talk that there's going to be programs to help you with diversity and inclusion. So it is top of mind. So some of our literature to help recruit the people, we talk about that we will support them. But I think the main thing that we do is benchmark against our community, and we've seen that diversity come up as we're bringing in more and more leads.
Well, that's interesting that you're saying that not only are you looking for diversity amongst your franchisees, but that when you are recruiting them and trying to sell franchises, that you are letting them know how important diversity is and that there will be training to assist them. Is that what I'm understanding? Like to assist them in terms of diversity training vis-a-vis, I guess, their own hires if they become franchisees.
Yeah, exactly. So that's part of one of our model and our program. We spend 3/4 of a day on it, and on different programs, how to implement it, and it's part of the HR hiring section of our training manual. And you'd be surprised when people come to us. They're like, "Will I fit in that neighborhood? Am I the right fit? Will I do well? I'm from the west side of Toronto, but I want to go in the east side. I'm going to move there. Will I be successful? Will they understand who I am?" So we do try to match up at certain areas for certain people, but at the end of the day, we want to have the best candidate in the best area. But it is coming up, that especially that question is, if they're from the west, will they be okay in the east? Or a northern person coming down, even to a northern person coming down to Toronto, will I sit up? So we go through that and how our program works, and even we said our successful franchisees, and this is discussed in our recruitment part. You have to have diversity in your students. When you market your brand and your learning center, it has to have some diversity in there. You can't just, and I know I talk a little bit about ethnic groups because, again, because of my brand and everything and the way that we grow, but you have to have a whole different culture. And with Learning Center, it's not, even with income, your students that are coming, it's parents are well off, and parents do anything they can to to help their kids in education. So we have to, in the recruitment part of that, we have to explain that to the candidates. Local, our franchisees, some of them do is take children that can't afford tutoring, and they will get some free tutoring out of them and free consultant for the parents. So giving back to the community. So they'll target that market, and it's good for the community. I think franchisees do want, in our want to hire the right person. So they're very open-minded. They learn what we've taught them, and I think they like that diversity. And because, again, especially with that tutor-student relationship, I think it works well. So I think their hires are very diverse from all backgrounds, and they blended together with the kids. So they make their own decisions when it comes to hiring, but they feed off our programs that we've introduced and that we've talked about.
And such a pleasure to work with this group and to have this conversation, and I hope the attendees enjoyed this as well. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for people for joining us.
A big thank you to all our panelists, Jennifer, Joel, Danny, Linda. Thank you for this insightful discussion, your valuable information, and answering the questions from our audience. Thank you. Today's webinar will be posted on the CFA website in COVID-19 resources section within the next few hours. A survey will be sent out to everyone who attended today. Please do give us your feedback on this webinar and how COVID-19 is impacting your business. Our next webinar will take place on July 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Our webinar will be Navigating the Digital World and Digitizing Your Business. Please visit our COVID-19 resources section of the CFA website to register. On behalf of the Canadian Franchise Association, thank you again for attending. Remember that you are not alone. We will get through this as a community. We are better together and growing together.